get going, we could just get talking about everything about you.
Awesome. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, just for you, coming into this season, obviously, last season not really getting to, obviously play as much as anybody would have liked. But what's kind of your mentality going into this season, as it's right around the corner?
I think the biggest mentality that we want to keep is obviously we're going to have to fight this whole COVID situation, but at the same time, like if we as a team just stay smart with our decisions and then go into the season with that same mindset, like I think we're just going to rock and hopefully win a PLC. That's the end goal here.
For you, just going into obviously the season personally with a lot of expectations of, I'm sure for yourself, but also around kind of the league in general, and also possibly the draft. I mean, what's kind of your mentality with that? Trying to stay within yourself, but also perform at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to think too far ahead just with regards to the draft because you could get carried away and then your mind starts running. So I like to take it just one day at a time, and that's a lot of the reason why I love being around my teammates. They really keep me in that mindset and help me through that whole switch up. And it's awesome being able to share it as well with a couple other Lehigh guys. We're getting some draft looks too.
For you, making four starts last year, going 1-2, but having a good ERA, obviously. What for you? Even though it was only 4 games, what did you take away from last season that you can implement this season for yourself?
I think one of the biggest learning curves was figuring out when to be ready to pitch. Like my first 2 starts were definitely my worst 2 starts of the year last year, and I honestly just attribute that to not knowing how to go ahead and fire up like the throwing routine. So I started a little bit earlier this year, and I'm taking that into this season. Just really with that open mind, like be ready to pitch game one.
You freshman year got 10 appearances, 5 starts, 5 out of the bullpen. Last year, not getting as much as you wanted just because of COVID and everything. Do you feel as though you're going to be ready to not even be a front end starter, but really put that pitching miles on your arm as it comes into a new year? With obviously hoping to pitch more than 4 games and really get some more starts going.
Yeah, it's really funny because I've thrown in summer ball. I've thrown more innings than in my whole college career here at Lehigh, which I always find is mind blowing. Had like the weirdest years ever, but I'm excited to see because I do think that a lot of the progress that I've made throughout these couple of years with changing my arm action and just putting on overall strength and everything has been tailored towards getting into that starter role. So I'm excited to see it all go ahead and be put together on the field and then just have a big season where I can go ahead and do that. But I don't think it'll be an issue, really.
I know you just mentioned obviously changing your arm angle and stuff. What from when you got to Lehigh until now has been the biggest adjustment within your mechanics or adjustment in terms of mentality pitching that you've really grown into coming into your junior season?
I think that there's 2 things. Definitely one overall. I think I came into Lehigh just a thrower, and like in high school baseball up in Northeast Pennsylvania, you can get away with just throwing a fastball and like a below average curveball for the most part. And I obviously had a bigger arm, so I was able to bring some velo to the table there. But coming into Lehigh, I really just tried to stay with that same mentality. And then freshman year had an appendectomy, missed a little bit of the season, came back, and then I was getting shelled. I had no idea what to do. And that's when I really started to become a pitcher and learn how to like sequence pitches and develop off speed and do all of that. And then just from the analytical standpoint, I've been able to implement a lot of like Rapsodo tech and even some driveline, some driveline like weighted ball work that has helped me with that arm action, which has been my second biggest accomplishment here at Lehigh.
You mentioned getting a lot of pitching time in summer ball. Obviously, playing at Lehigh, you're going to face some good competition, but also in the summer, obviously, usually the best of the best from around the whole country, not just, in a conference or anything like that. For you getting that opportunity to pitch in summer ball, what was that like for you to face guys, outside of the conference and really get to, see yourself against other people that you normally wouldn't see? And also just really, what was it like for you to get the opportunity to face those kind of guys?
Yeah, so my first summer, but being able to play on the Cape was just, I always say it's the best summer of my life. Just because I was a freshman, really didn't know, honestly, if I belonged up there or not. And was able to, fortunately have some good starts and make the All-Star game and do all of that. But it's always exciting to see where you stack up against other people. It's almost like the Cape is the great equalizer, and you're able to see, like I said, where you are against essentially all the other All-Stars, if you will, of other conferences. So that was really exciting. And then being able to go down into South Florida this past summer was just an unbelievable experience as well. Like playing in the middle of a pandemic and getting to meet some really cool people down in that league was just such a great learning experience.
For you, obviously mentioning you guys have a lot of expectations coming into the year. Not necessarily shortened season last year, but not playing up to, I'm sure, where you guys would have liked 5-10. Coming into this season, you mentioned not only yourself but a lot of other guys getting attention. What's kind of the mentality, not only from a coaching standpoint, with the coaches, but for you guys personally, trying to flip the script just in terms of getting off to a better start and really competing for a conference title?
I think one of the biggest things is the realization, like through our pitching staff, obviously one of our bigger strengths as a team is that we essentially have 3 to 4 guys who are like game one starters. So if everyone goes into that mindset of a weekend, like, hey, I'm a 1, like, I don't think that there's going to be a big difference from the pitching side of things. And then just the work that all of our guys have been putting in, along with our hitting coach, has been, just unbelievable to see this past winter. I was able to work with Adam Retzbach, who's our catcher, actually, and just seeing him, the translation he went through the fall into the winter and now going into the season, it's really exciting to see.
For you, fall, like you mentioned, obviously pitching in the summer to the fall. Not sure how many times you got out there in the fall, but for you, how do you the fall's weird for you guys, obviously, trying to hone in on your craft, but also not go too hard and maybe get nicked up or anything. How did you really assess yourself and know your limits in the fall to where you weren't throwing too much or going too hard to really go at a steady pace to lead up to the spring?
See, I see the fall as more of an opportunity to just work on what I kind of stagnated on throughout the summer. So I was shortening up my arm action a little bit over quarantine, and then went to the summer ball league down in Florida and was able to implement that in the game. So then coming back this fall to Lehigh was just an awesome opportunity to work with that and really see what that looks like against our hitters and live bullpens and all of that. So it's not as much of a downshift as it is just a mindset shift towards the developmental side of things.
You mentioned not only yourself, but a lot of the other starters, can be game one starters. But for you, obviously, including yourself in that, I'm sure, you have a definitely, a chance to be the game one starter. I'm not sure, what the coaching staff's thinking, but just having that mentality of, freshman year, being a back end guy, sophomore year, obviously, not really, you didn't really get to, experience sophomore season. For you, junior season, what kind of mentality shift are you going to have coming into this season as being, a front end starter and really going to be someone that the coaching staff and your teammates rely on?
I think it's going to come down a lot to just setting the tone for the weekend. In the Patriot League, we play a lot of Saturday, Sunday sets instead of Friday. So just that game one on Saturday early afternoon, as we like to say, is going to be huge, and just setting the entire tone, the pace for the weekend, and just going out and trying to do my best to put us in a winning column in there.
I have to ask just because, obviously you mentioned COVID and everything. You guys are excited to get back out there. It's weird for you guys, not even from a pitching standpoint, but just from an overall team perspective. Obviously you guys want to perform at a high level and everything, but also being careful around the campus and everything. I want to ask you, is there kind of a mentality or, you guys checking in on each other just to make sure, nobody, puts the team at jeopardy or per se, really try to, just stay safe in all this? I mean, what's kind of the role of the upperclassmen trying to instill that in the younger guys just to make sure, that doesn't become a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an awesome question. So what we did in the fall, we didn't really have the hopes of a season or anything, and we were able to take that almost as a learning experience and see like what protocols work, what don't work. And what we've done this past couple of weeks has been, and actually I'm in quarantine right now along with like my whole house and pretty much all of the athletics on campus, just trying to like keep ourselves COVID free for this first week, and then we just get right back in. But bringing it back to your point, we have been meeting as a team these past 2-3 weeks to just come up with some concrete COVID protocols as a team. And essentially we're going to be bubbled together. And I'm not even upset about that. I love seeing my teammates, and I think that the hopes of having a season is going to push us in a very different scenario than the fall. In that guys are going to be smarter about doing things, whether it be just seeing family members or anything like that, because they know how important this season is, not only to themselves but also the rest of the team. So it's not a matter of upperclassmen instilling it into the freshmen. It's almost just that team-oriented mindset of like, this is what we got to do to play, and we're going to do it any way possible.
You mentioned that you guys are, quarantining together. Obviously, a lot of you guys, you're going to be seeing each other a lot more just because you all have to, stay in a similar area or whatnot. For you, though, going through that and getting that experience, how much closer would you say that you guys have grown? Obviously, I'm sure you guys were close before, but, really having to be around each other, it almost feels like, that kind of in a weird way is just going to help the team overall chemistry for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down to like a core principle, just like getting to know your teammates a little bit better. And obviously this pandemic's brought out a lot of different things in people, and just having that trust within your teammates to be more vulnerable with each other and just talk from the heart. Like if something's bothering you, don't boil it up inside. Like I felt that I've been able to do that with my teammates, and I hope that they feel the same way about sharing their own emotions and trusting me in that too.
You mentioned before, obviously, your catcher at Lehigh, but for you guys, I wanted to ask for you, playing in the Cape, playing at Lehigh, playing down in, like you mentioned, Florida this past summer. Uh, Obviously, you're not, an infield position guy or an outfield position guy where it doesn't really matter, who's next to you per se. Obviously, that can still affect you, but, that pitcher-catcher relationship, I wanted to ask you, how comfortable do you need to be personally with the catcher? Is it something where you don't doesn't matter to you who's behind the plate? And really, how have you grown with the catching staff at Lehigh compared to maybe some other guys that you've floated around with in the Cape or in Florida?
I think that each individual catcher has their own strengths, obviously, just like every person does. And it's just a matter of finding that in the catcher and then really playing to those strengths. Like I'm lucky enough to have our catcher at Lehigh, like I said, from my area. And we've been best friends for, like probably too long, honestly. So it's been great just seeing him grow as a person, and it's to the point where I don't even question if he throws down a sign or something, because he's in my head just as much as I am. And I think it goes both ways there. But comparing that to catchers I've had on the Cape, like I was with Christian Molfetta, who's now at Michigan. He was pretty much my catcher up on the Cape, and just being consistent and sticking with that same catcher has been huge because you get to learn from one another. It started off with like little 3-inning spurt here and a relief appearance, and then from that point on, it was like, hey, this is my catcher. Like I trust him. I know what's going on in his head, and he knows more than me right now because he's a little bit older. And I found that same thing when I went down to Florida too. I had Daniel Labrador from Miami catching me, and it was just an awesome experience getting to know those people on a deeper level.
For you too, obviously, the coaching staff, growing not only as a player but as a person in general. Before you even committed there to where you're at now, I mean, how has the coaching staff been for you at Lehigh? Obviously, I'm sure they've been a big part of your success and everything. But how has it really gone for you just connecting with the coaches and really, growing as a pitcher, learning how to, like you mentioned, pitch instead of just throw, and also just, grow as an adult?
Yeah, from day one when I had first committed to Lehigh or thought about committing to Lehigh, one of the biggest things was our coach Leary said to me, like, the people are what's going to make or break your college experience. And I've really felt that to be true, and I've carried that with me throughout all my years here at Lehigh, because I've had the opportunity to not only get to know the baseball coaches and the awesome people within our baseball program, but also the alumni that come with it, and from the athletic side of things, all of our athletic staff, they're so invested in us as athletes. And we have a phenomenal athletic leadership development program that I've taken advantage of. And I don't think I would be probably half the person I am today without having everyone in my corner battling for me and teaching me throughout all of this.
For you too, with no season, necessarily set yet, obviously, the intentions to play, most likely just a conference season for you guys. Playing only in conference, I want to ask you, it feels like, for you being an upperclassman, that's going to, favor your advantage just because, you have experience either, seeing them from the bench when you're not pitching or, pitching against them. How are you going to go into the season, in a conference-only season where, you have the experience, and now it's kind of, just more of a chess match than having to get to know them first.
I really like it because it throws us kind of into the gauntlet right from the
Yeah.
beginning. And every team's going to have their like little bumps and bruises, but just as it pertains to our team, like playing to our own strengths and knowing who we are as people is going to be huge to having a successful season and being able to compete at that elite level we expect ourselves to compete at.
For everything, like you mentioned, obviously committing to Lehigh, in high school and everything. But for you, you mentioned you were from Pennsylvania. I wanted to just ask you about the commitment overall. Looking back on it, obviously, I'm sure there's no regrets or anything. But being a kid from Pennsylvania, staying close to home, what other things were factors in making that decision to, stay close to home and also be able to be a student athlete?
Obviously, as I mentioned, like the people aspect of things and how I really felt that I would become not only a better pitcher but a better person here at Lehigh was huge. But there was the side of things where Lehigh is almost a pitcher farm. It has become in recent years with guys like Mark Washington and Levi Stout. Jason, like I can rattle off a bunch of pitchers, and it's been exciting being a part of that and trying to take advantage of that. And then not only from the baseball side of things and people side of things, there's also academics. I'm a bit of a nerd myself, and I'm a bioengineer here at Lehigh, and obviously Lehigh is a great engineering school, so that was definitely factored into my decision.
And for you, wanted to ask you, obviously going to Lehigh, big academic school, obviously, not many people can even have the grades to get into there. But for you, having the best of both worlds, where you mentioned big engineering guy, so obviously getting that aspect along with the baseball. How do you balance that? I just want to ask you. Obviously, some guys, usually, playing a sport will take an easy major, like communication. Not to knock those majors, but something where it's not as rampant or not as much work per se on that side of things. How did you go about it the past 2 seasons and to this semester, balancing, being a frontline starter, but also, being a bioengineer major?
So I really like to say this even when I talk with recruits or anything if I see them around the field, is that this is a huge question, like how do you balance academics and athletics? But honestly, coming in and having baseball to lean on and set a routine for you is just so huge because you know that, hey, I practice at 4 o'clock today. I have to get all of my schoolwork done before then or else I'm going to eat and then come right back and do it. It's almost to the point where not it dictates your life, but it keeps you in a healthy schedule so that you're getting your work done on time and just having a team to hold you accountable to your work. Like it's been exciting having a couple other bioengineers at Lehigh that I can bounce. Like my one of my best friends, Luke Reddig, is also a bioengineer in my class. So we just pretty much do our homework together. We'll study together and do all of that. And it's been awesome having that support staff.
For you, final baseball question for you before we start to wrap up. But for you, just in terms of baseball side of things, obviously, like you mentioned, being a thrower and really velocity, but also pinpoint accuracy. For you, I wanted to ask, how do you go about that? I'm not sure if you're a big analytics guy or not, just because some guys, even mentioning in the big leagues, read too much into it, and then gets in their head with their spin rate and stuff. Some guys don't even look at it; they more just go with their feel. You on the mound, how do you go about your business? And are you somebody who goes with the analytics or somebody who goes with the feel? I mean, how do you try to balance out the new age of technology with the old school side of things of just throwing how you feel?
I think that for you to be a successful pitcher at the next level, you have to buy into the analytics and really see what your strengths are on paper before you go ahead and improve upon those as well as work on what you're not good at. So I do have to say I'm very analytically minded when it comes to development and doing all of that. But I don't think it's so much one or the other, like feel or analytics. I really like to implement feel when I get on the mound and see, hey, like if I'm dropping my leg, like why am I doing that? And feeling out those body movements before you go ahead and try to throw a high intensity bullpen has been one of the biggest things. So it's almost equal parts analytics and feel overall has been the biggest help.
Awesome. For you, just wanted to ask you a couple, simple wrap-up questions before we let you go. But for you, being in the Patriot League, I wanted to ask, obviously, like you mentioned, good academics, good baseball. But for you, on the baseball side of things, who is the one team that you circle on the schedule personally as a biggest rival or somebody you really are excited to play against?
I've personally never had the chance to face either of the academies, Navy or Army. So I'm circling both those games this year, but honestly, all Patriot League games are big ones. So
For you, do you have a certain routine before pitching? I know, obviously, some guys, have a similar playlist or, just, eat the same thing. I mean, what's kind of your routine before a start?
I've never been one for real superstitions or anything like that. But I found that just getting up early, getting my day started has been huge. Like drink a ton of water before you start, so I'm almost peeing like 3 to 4 times at the field before I hop on the mound. But I've just thought that taking care of your body in the long term has helped just on game day. And there's nothing that I really think about doing aside from pitching on that day. But I mean, I'm a big music guy, so I'll always be listening to music whenever I get the chance to.
For you, we talked about this before a little bit, but I wanted to ask, for you being a bioengineer major, outside of the game of baseball, whenever that ends, you could talk about, next year or, within the next decade or so. But when the cleats finally go up, what's something you can see yourself doing after the game of baseball?
You see, I ask myself that a lot actually, and I really don't know. I've loved all this epidemiology and studying the pandemic and studying all that stuff. It's been really exciting from an immunology standpoint too. So I could see myself diving into that. Or there's also the option of going to medical school too, especially with the degree from Lehigh in that field. So it's pretty much just a matter of what I think I want to do. I'm just going to let it come to me.
Outside of things, I know you mentioned quarantining in the house with a bunch of other guys. What's something you guys are doing to, pass the time? As I'm sure you guys are pretty bored.
Yeah, we've been giving our house just a complete makeover these past couple of days. We went and just pretty much like reestablished the living room, and we cleaned the kitchen for the first time. I think it's been cleaned since we moved in here, and been taking up cooking a lot. So I think that's what we're doing right now. And then just like watching movies. Like we can't really see each other without masks on right now, which kind of stinks, but we're making the most of it.
For you, outside of things, looking back in your recruiting process, wanted to ask you, besides Lehigh, what other schools were you really considering? Just looking back at that decision you had to make.
There's a lot of Northeast schools that were like higher academic schools that were targeting me. Like St. Joe's was up there. Binghamton was also in the mix. I know Monmouth contacted me. So pretty much just keeping it up in the Northeast with some, like I said, higher academics.
For you, I know you don't read into the draft or anything too much yet, obviously, but for you, having a potential opportunity in that, when did you really figure out that, baseball could be a possible career choice for you? Was it in high school you had that mentality, coming into college? I mean, when did you really know or feel that this could be more than just a hobby?
I think the first summer on the Cape was when things really started to click. And I always tell the story, like my first start up there, my first relief appearance, I got up 2 strikes on the hitter and then just completely froze up and forgot how to pitch, walked him on 4 straight, and then hit the next guy. And then it was able to get like I think a double play and then a strikeout to get out of the inning. But after that, it was like I settled in and I realized like, hey, you're here for a reason. And I think that's when I started to believe. But then once I was having the success that I did throughout that year, I was like, this might be a potential career path. Like, let's look into this a little bit more.
For you, obviously being close to a lot of your teammates, what in 1 or 2 sentences or phrases would your teammates describe you as, either on or off the field?
I hope that they'd use, hopefully, the term just leader throughout all of that. Like, I always take pride in practicing what I preach, so I think that's something that I would hope that they would use. Then another is just care. Like, I care for them. I care what their interests are, and really try to not force that or anything. Just have a genuine interest in people as I normally do.
For you, mentioning everything, at Lehigh, a lot of baseball stuff, obviously talking, but outside of the game of baseball, in your career thus far, academically and as a player at Lehigh, what's something off the field that you enjoy about the college?
About the college? Ooh, I can say a lot. I think just the people that you get to meet walking around campus has been unreal. Like I've had the chance to meet some of my best friends that aren't athletes in the classroom just by touching base with them. Like, hey, this homework sucked, and then all of a sudden you're both connecting over something, and then you have a new friend. And it's been exciting getting to meet different people throughout my whole time here at Lehigh. And then I know one other thing, I love that the mountain, or our campus is pretty much on the side of the mountain. So I always joke in saying that it makes your legs look great.
For you, obviously, like you mentioned, having a lot of different stuff going on at Lehigh, but for you, has there been one moment or one defining moment, either, being a player on the field or off the field, that's really resonated with you, either, being with the guys or something like that, that really made you feel like at the end of the day that you made the right choice?
Yeah, I would say that throughout my appendectomy, I alluded a little bit to it before, but having that experience my freshman year and just having like literally every teammate come to the hotel, or not the hotel, the hospital room to see me, and then also just having them touch base throughout my 3 to 4 week absence there was the reason when I realized like this is why I came to Lehigh. Like I don't think that at any other program in the country I would have that kind of support from not only my teammates but also my coaching staff, like giving me the time and resources that I need to stay afloat both academically and athletically. And that's when I really knew that this was the right choice.
Final question for you, and then obviously we'll let you go. But for you, throughout all your time there, when you were a freshman or a junior now, who's been the one guy or, a couple guys that you've really grown close to or really, been able to bond with over your time at Lehigh?
Well, aside from Adam Gretzbach, who was forced into this relationship with me, but my freshman year roommates, both of them, like Chase Carlson, Matt Stanford, have really grown alongside of me, as well as my couple of my best friends, like Matt Swanson lives in the house right next door to me, Jared Sweetie. Like I can go on and on. So I don't really know if I can name one or two people because it's more of a collective unit than just a couple people.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to thank you for taking a little time talking to us. Obviously, being in quarantine, you're not as busy as you're going to be within the next couple of weeks. But just thanks for taking the time, and wish you and the whole team best of luck this upcoming season.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me on too, Kyle. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Mason, and hopefully, we'll catch up soon. But other than that, just good luck with the season. Hopefully, you guys get it going pretty soon.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pumped for it. Yeah. Thank you again. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it.